Where do we go from here? By Asking Alexandria. This is the York Outfit's 8th studio album, released the 25th of August via Better Noise Music. Where do we go from here consists of 11 tracks and is the follow-up to 2021's See What's on the Inside LP. Quick note that I just wanted to shed some light on. There are now more records in Danny Worsnop's second stint with Asking Alexandria than there were in his first.
Interesting.
4-3, and then who could forget the Dennis Stoff interlude that makes this whole thing possible.
You actually, I feel like you provided a lot of context for this record.
I did. I just wanted to let that sit for a second.
Sure. The Dennis Stoff era just feels like a completely different
universe. It felt
like a blip in the Matrix in a way. You know what I mean?
It was like the Spider-Man No Way Home thing where it was like, hey, you're not the Spider-Man we're used to, and it was a fleeting moment in time, but a little bit more context on this record.
Can Asking Alexandria do their own version of No Way Home? No, I'm all right. I'm just kidding. Fun thought, though.
In an interview with blabbermouth.net, guitarist Ben Bruce had this to say about the new album. Where do we go from here is the culmination of our entire journey as a band. We talked about it, 8 albums, right? So we worked really hard to incorporate every aspect of what our fans love about Asking Alexandria. We have taken elements from every single record we have ever written and pieced them all together to create one album. Our fans will find elements from Stand Up and Scream, such as the synth-tinged breakdown on Things Could Be Different, track on this record, all the way through to See What's on the Inside, their latest record on this album. Lyrically, the band explores themes of loss and struggle through to hope and finding your own inner strength. We are incredibly proud of this album, and we can't wait for everyone to hear it. End quote.
I think it's interesting to have similar concepts behind both this and the Word Alive album that we talked about a week ago. And I wonder if it's sort of indicative where a lot of the bands that we've been covering for a decade now are sort of at in their careers, you know, like it makes a lot of sense for the Word Alive or Asking Alexandria to, at this stage of their career, maybe look back and try to best encapsulate everything that's come before now and put it into one record. Before we move on, were there any other notes that you wanted to speak about?
There's something. So if we scroll a little past this track listing, I just wanted to shed some light on a since deleted tweet that I actually have to pull up on my phone because the image didn't pull up. But and we'll throw this up on the YouTube video, a screenshot of it. But on 11/18/2022, November 18th, 2022, at 7:25 p.m., Danny Worsnop tweeted out, "So I've been going through a lot over the last year, and it's not stuff I'm comfortable sharing the emotions of yet. So I've been working with some incredible young songwriters on the new AA record. This post is in the spirit of transparency," and that's it. And that one, that tweet immediately
struck you in a way that you had to investigate?
Well, I remember at the time I was just immediately more curious on what this then nameless 8th LP would turn out to be, right? Because and I guess I was under the impression they had worked with more writers in the past, but if that wasn't the case, what does this ultimately turn into? We sort of have an answer, I guess. And really, the only reason this was deleted from what I could tell is because Danny Worsnop did the classic wiped my tweets thing that every other artist does when
right, the reset
new records. Yeah. Those young songwriters, seemingly just one, a Paul Bartolome, whose songwriting background isn't actually very extensive, yet they are cited in the song credits for every single track on this record, minus one, which is Feel, So Paul, the rest of Asking Alexandria, and Matt Good, writing credits on every single song on this record, feel the only one that is strictly Matt Good, produced by Matt Good, written by Matt Good, nobody else, which I thought was also interesting just in looking at this. Also, Matt Good's not particularly young, if that's what Danny Worsnop was getting at. Respectfully, you're 39. But I just wanted to pull that tweet back into the light, because that was the approach that I was heading into this album with, is under the impression that the writing stylings might be a little bit different. And honestly, Sam, when you pull up Paul and you go through some of the songs he's written, because it's a lot of just solo material, it's all under the name Paul Bartolome, and if I'm mispronouncing that last name, that's on me, I apologize. But you pull up those songs and you can definitely see an influence in that
Is it like the predecessor to what would be this Asking Alexandria album in a way?
Absolutely.
Interesting.
And that was only by listening to like 3 or 4 songs. And again, I don't 100% understand their involvement, because Danny Worsnop says songwriting. I interpret that maybe as more just like lyrically and melodically. And then I also look at, a Matt Good who's straight up just writing one song on this record all by himself. And I'm like, he's probably has more of a hand in a lot of that than...
Matt Good did produce the entire record, though, right?
As he did with, I believe, the last one and the 2 before it. Every record in the post-Stoff era has been produced by Matt Good, I believe, to be the case. So I just think it's really important to bring all that up before we really get into the meat of this review. And I guess at this one, I want to hand it off to you, Sam. I sort of want to see where you're at. And if you're not quite ready, I've got a few more things I can get into.
So, for those who maybe didn't hear it, but many others will have been aware already, that See What's on the Inside?
See What's on the Inside was not a favorite of yours, Sam.
It was probably one of the most disappointing listening experiences I've ever had in my whole life. Just genuinely disappointed. Outside of the lead single, which tricked me into being excited for that album.
Alone Again.
Right. And I was also massively disappointed in the record that came prior to that. Whose name? A House on Fire, I believe.
Yes, Like a House on Fire.
Like a House on Fire, which I thought lacked any soul whatsoever. But going back one record further,
the self-titled,
I thought Asking Alexandria self-titled was a fucking masterpiece. I thought it was absolutely incredible. I was so excited about the return of Danny Worsnop after listening to that, and it has been diminishing returns feels almost putting it lightly. I just feel like have not heard the same band, not because they're stylistically different, just it doesn't feel like the personality of Asking Alexandria existed in the last 2 albums. And this third one is now the trilogy of cementing Asking Alexandria just no longer being a project that I can seem to connect with in any capacity. I feel like this album feels more alive than that last record, and somehow more lifeless. It's overall has this feeling of being perfunctory. Like, we wrote riffs because we're a band. And this song has breakdowns because we're metalcore. And there's some electronic flourishes because that's what happens in modern metalcore songs. And nothing about it ever comes close to feeling like there's a genuine interest in doing anything interesting, or like anyone involved for this project has any passion. And I'm open to the argument that they do, but as a listener, what I'm trying to communicate is that none of it came through while listening to this album. What are your opening thoughts?
So I'm not quite there with you. So if I had to describe this album in 5 words, Sam, timeless,
Okay.
cathartic,
Yeah.
not moving. I was reading my notes from last week's episode regarding the new Holding Absence record,
Very cute of you.
which just came out August 25th as well. Let's see here. 5 words to describe the new Asking Alexandria album. This makes more sense. I am more aligned. Trite, disgraceful. Sam, this one's stinky. Okay? Stinky, derivative, vapid.
So you're not doing like the try to respectfully communicate your thoughts version that I did.
No,
you're digging in here.
Because I gave this band the benefit of the doubt last time around. I while you disrespectfully bashed at times, see what's on the inside, I stood by the side of that record and I came to its defense regretfully. So I think now, with the passage of time, I look back at that record and don't see what I saw in some of those songs that I did then.
Ironically, I think this album is so bad that by virtue of comparison, it has actually made my least favorite record of 2021 look slightly better.
So, but on that note, and this is why I wanted to bring up the songwriting factor of it all, is because I don't think that there are strictly bad things happening on this record. I think that there are moments where this band wakes up and just has 15 good seconds left in them. And it's tracks like the opening. It's tracks like the opening Bad Blood, where like the bridge on that track where this band suddenly remembers that they're British again.
Something they'll quickly forget throughout the entirety of this record.
Exactly.
But, yes.
It's a fleeting moment. Parts like that where it's like, oh, maybe there's something here. Or songs like Feel, where it's like, oh, this one's got a little bit of heart to it at moments. And then you realize it's just Matt Good who wrote it. And then I'm sitting here and I'm taking this whole record in and I'm like, there are good parts, but I'm not willing to give the benefit of the doubt to this band that it was Danny Worsnop or Ben Bruce or any of the other artists in Asking Alexandria who provided those good moments. I credit those strictly to Matt Good and the other songwriter on here, Paul Bartolome, because they've earned the benefit of the doubt. Asking Alexandria at this point certainly hasn't. This is the 4th record in a row where, like you said, diminishing returns, and it's
third record in a row. With diminishing
right.
return.
4th record into the return, diminishing returns. Since,
sure, I understand. Okay.
Where it just keeps getting worse and worse, and every time you think this band has hit rock bottom and they'll wake up, they fall deeper into this weird, like robotic, life that they've sort of found comfort in, I guess. Like you said, they just don't seem to care anymore, is what I walk away from this record with. And it's funny too, because they'll try to tell you that they don't. Like, take the song Kill It With Fire, for example, which is a 1.5 minute like barn burner of sorts. And I listen to that song, it ends, and the only thing I'm thinking to myself is, it's like when you're catching up with an ex and they're trying to rizz you up, Sam. And they're talking about like, we used to be so fun together, bro. We used to be so fucking fun together. Fuck you. I'm resistant, okay?
Okay.
I am resistant.
Did you invent that word right now, or is that
this is the most
bad?
disingenuous song in this band's entire catalog. Miss me with that heavy shit. I don't want the old Asking Alexandria back. I just want an Asking Alexandria that has any bit of soul in them left. And I want that soul to come out. and I just want to hear it on a song or two in a row. Okay,
I'm precisely with
That's
you. Like,
all I'm asking for.
I yearned for like a singular moment of like raw intensity, like
This
emotional
is-
vulnerability, or just like, or even alternatively, just fuck all of it and maybe be fun again. Like the like those first two records. Like it's almost like care or don't care, but don't do whatever you're doing right now, which is just be completely ambivalent.
Right. And again, like I really get pissed at Kill It With Fire because I'm not looking for a heavy song out of this band. I'm not looking for them to like just put their middle fingers up and show that they can play a big breakdown here and there. It just feels so disingenuous. It's the corniest moment on this record by a million miles. It doesn't belong on this record.
It doesn't feel like we're doing the decade of Asking Alexandria because we want to. It's just because, like, all right, is this what you guys want type beat?
And it's in the same sense, like you really can start taking apart that whole decade of Asking thing once you start realizing like the moments that they're attributing to those certain records. It's like, oh man, I didn't hear the synth in that one song and think to myself, oh, that's very stand up and scream like. Like we're just making shit up at this point.
Right. It's just like it's not that I need your songs to have an EDM break. I need the energy you brought to whatever the project was when you started.
Which
it.
is why
like,
when I hear like the bridge of Bad Blood and I'm like, oh, this is just like a moment of like some sincerity from this band.
And you're kind of right, where like you walk away thinking, is Matt Good the only like person here who put in the effort? Because it does feel like he was handed like the bones of this album and said is like, all right, fucking like cancel all my meetings. I'll try my best.
Right.
Like I'll do everything I can to like insert a moment here to keep people listening to this album.
But to further that point, it's really just with Asking Alexandria where I look at a Matt Good song and I'm like, man, this sucks. It is not everything else Matt Good touches. For the most part, like I think Matt Good is a really dependable producer, which is why initially I had to change my feelings coming out of this record. Because initially I was like, man, this band's got to stop working with Matt Good. Like this is just a marriage that needs to end. But it's really just for Matt Good's sake at this point, because the fact that we're spending so much time trying to revive Asking Alexandria and pretend that this band is any good when that band is putting in no effort to do it it's just watching Matt Good waste his time on another project. Is how I look at it.
100%.
But again, it's not all that bad, which is what I keep coming
yeah, but it's
back
almost
to.
worse for it. This is what I mean by it made me appreciate the last album, because at least the last album felt like this band was going for something. Like they were interested in trying something. Like they had a vision. This feels incredibly like a House on Fire, where it just feels like a product.
So there's a song on here that really opened my eyes into what I sort of wish this band would do, which is just try to like take some chances. And I'm curious how you feel about this song in specific, because to me it felt like the most unique track on here. Let the Dead Take Me, where it has this like almost He Is Legend type swampiness to it. And it has like a little bit of like this circusy energy that I think at least keeps the song interesting. And I think it has a good build up. Again, I certainly don't like as many tracks on here as I did See What's on the Inside. I probably liked maybe 4 tracks on there I didn't think were too bad. Okay. I think ultimately I walk away from this album with like 3 songs I don't mind, which is The Closer. It's that song I mentioned a second ago. And it's probably... funny enough, Dark Void, which has grown on me, but I still think isn't that wonderful of a song.
Let me interject, because I think it's worth noting that we talked a lot about nobody feels like they're interested in this. Even that being the case, Danny Worsnop is still the actual all-star. It's just his voice doesn't quit. And
it's a great voice.
It's in what's so frustrating is that it just continues to feel wasted. It's this incredible singing talent that is trapped in the least interesting project in the whole scene. And I think that every time he tries to pull out of the confines of the formula that this band seems to have restricted themselves to on this record, it reels him back in.
I think Danny's like, if we are pointing blame, Danny deserves an equal amount. In my opinion, that's how I look at it.
I don't disagree that.
You're not wrong though, because like,
but it's almost like, all of this being said, it's still hard to argue against that voice. It's a good voice.
100%.
I think it lends its talents to 11 to 12 completely forgettable songs. And it's interesting that you mentioned Let the Dead Take Me, because I think it's an absolute completely fucking mess of a song. And I think that is the singular example of where it felt like Danny Worsnop's approach just felt forced and it wasn't working. And I don't know if that is something I lay at his feet or like poor direction from like what they were trying to do. And
it's a little
experimentation, but it doesn't work.
No, I'll give it to you that it's a little janky, but I really,
it might be interesting, but I think it's bad.
I really appreciate the experimentation because at least it's something. It's
it's
a singular sign of life.
It's not Psycho, which feels like the grandfather of all hollow sing-along rock songs of the last fucking decade.
Psycho might be the worst song this band's ever written, and there's a couple of those on this record.
Yeah. Psycho just feels like something you could like snip out and put in a trailer to coincide with like a general situation or a vibe. Like
that,
it's completely meaningless. It's just like relatable emotion or instance as song. It's shouting nothing as loudly as a casual listener will accept.
And it's super bothering too, because again, we go out and say that we're working with a bunch of young new artists and songwriters rather, and all they come up with is just shit that's gonna do fine on Octane.
But maybe that's their direction. Like maybe that's what they're asked to do, right?
But it makes it even more disappointing. And I understand why Danny wouldn't want to get into it, even though I don't think Asking Alexandria was not writing songs like lyrics in the detail of Spanish love songs by any means prior, but everything feels so just unrelatable. It's in its relatability everywhere. It's like, oh, I feel like a psycho, or I'm trapped in the dark void. Yeah. None of it feels relatable whatsoever.
Right. Like there's no authentic personality to any of it. Yeah. It's just words on a page.
Which again is for that same reason. I don't mind a song like Take Me Down to the Fucking River of the Hopeless or whatever the song was, because it's got at least a little bit of character to it.
Sure. I agree. It's a shame that it wasn't a better track, but at least it's interesting. I would have preferred 12 interesting misfires than what we got, which was just sort of 12 bland radio rock songs.
Yeah.
I think that the closer and the title track is like the closest we come to like something authentic.
And the closer is the title track, to clarify.
Yes. Sorry.
Yes.
And it doesn't just feel like these radio-ready packaged fucking rock songs, which isn't to say it's not like a relatively by-the-numbers ballad, but at least I feel like it had a little heart to it. Like it felt like it was trying to like communicate an experience. Like maybe there's a little catharsis to it.
I think it's an extremely similar song to the title track on the last record as well, which I believe was also the closer, and it's got the same energy, and it's almost, to me, it's like a very extremely similar song in general. But I wholeheartedly agree where it's like, hey, at least this band feels like they're singing from the heart at one point, and that song comes across pretty genuine, but it's a diamond in the rough.
Yeah. Precisely. The breakdowns on this album are like a shell of their former self. Like it's the most obligated inclusion of the whole record.
Which really sucks too. And he's got a couple of okay moments, but I really, really, really like this band's drummer at times. And like, talk about phoning in a performance on this record. And that same thing with like Ben Bruce, all that guitar work. Like,
does Ben Bruce exist in this band anymore? Like, remember there was like that moment where it felt like he was like a co-vocalist, and like we got something like The Black, and it was like, well, holy shit, yo, Ben Bruce fucking can own a fucking moment,
right? He's putting like his like some real fucking passion into some of the stuff. Like at some point, Ben Bruce was like talking shit on Danny at the front of a song, and like I missed that sort of Asking Alexandria where it just felt like they had something to share.
He just feels bad. Like, he might as well not even be in this band. Like, nobody, everyone might as well not fucking be in this band. Like, I don't know what the fuck we're doing here. I have no fucking idea what we're doing here. The most interesting things that happen on this record are whatever fucking knobs and switches Matt Good is pulling in the background. Like, it's like you have like the beginning of Let Go, and you're like, hey, shit, maybe we're on to something.
There's
and then
like
the
an
fucking band
orchestral
shows up,
moment
and
at some point.
It fucking sucks. This album is I'll give it a 0.5 because I think Danny Warsnop is a good singer, and Matt Good at least is trying to do fucking something with the mess he's been handed. But like, absolutely avoid this at all fucking costs. I don't know what to tell you. Asking Alexandria, just like, who the fuck even cares anymore? Like, I try so fucking hard with this band, but it's like, it's not even meeting them halfway. They want me to meet them on the other side of the fucking world, and I'm not gonna try anymore because it's bad. It's fucking bad. I'm sorry. It's like, I miss this band so much. Nobody's fucking talking about this.
That's the crazy
dropped on
part.
the worst fucking day possible because like good shit came out, and it's even worse for Asking Alexandria because it's like not a singular fucking person is like, I have an opinion on this album. It's like it might as well not even have come out. I think it would have been better off for it.
The craziest part about this record, because I just don't know who we write this for. Because it doesn't feel like it's for the old fans in any capacity.
A check to get out of a fucking record contract. I don't know.
It's 100% not for this band because they seem so uninvested in anything that they've written in the past 5 years. And for newer fans, I mean, I guess it could be, but at the same time, like, you would expect Asking Alexandria to go out and fucking want it more.
You can't get a single
and it
thing
feels
from
like
this album
could give a fuck
that you couldn't get better from dozens of other artists that we've discussed this year. Dozens.
Yeah.
Like, loving this band is been the most disappointing fucking experience of my life.
Especially when you compare them to all the bands they came up with. Bring Me the Horizon.
Brutal fucking points of comparison.
At their creative best. And Asking Alexandria, similar highs at certain points in their careers. And this is what we're walking out of 2023 with, is this record. It's a damn shame. Part of me wanted to give it a 1, but I think I'll match you on the 0.5. This is a fucking atrocious record.
1 would
garbage.
Be too kind.
And coming from someone who has loved most records from this band, I don't know. I'm not with them on this one. It sucks. I'm not even saying I want it to sound heavy again. I just want it to have any bit of soul.
I want somebody to fucking care about the band they're in. Like a singular fucking person to care about the band they're in.